Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space meeting tonight, February 7th, 2024. There are, it looks like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pro Board members in attendance tonight. Bob's unable to make it. Let's start out by approving meeting minutes from the January meeting. I'll make a motion to do that. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Well, let's jump right in then. Liam Kelly is here tonight to update us on his progress with his project for Franklin Preserve. Hi, Liam. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Do you want to just give us a little bit of an update? I think probably since the last time we saw you, you had a conversation with Jeff Eastburn about your project, getting preliminary approval. Can you give us a little bit of an update?
So I have a slideshow to show them on the next meeting they have for approval. But I can share it here.
Okay, good.
This is Ryan. Liam said, "Are you sharing?" He needs to share his screen. He's on my computer, so I'm gonna help him navigate here.
Yeah, he has permission to share.
Share screen. And then let's do screen two. PowerPoint. Page. So when you hit 5 again. You see that?
We do. Looks good.
Take it away.
So this is just my opening slide. This is the trail map that I'm planning on doing, showing them. And then this is the markers that I am gonna use, and also the link is to the company that I'm gonna order them from, or I'm planning to.
Hey, could you go back to the trail map? That was kind of quick, please.
Yeah.
So how many markers is it? How many posts? 10.
And yeah, 10 posts.
And Liam, I just want to mention, I know we touched on this last time, but the map itself is going to change slightly. So I think we are in the process of updating it. So I don't want you to print anything prior to prior to us finalizing the map. And I think Dave is here tonight. He and some of the board members and Paul Overton walked the trails, and I think they're in the process of updating it. So don't print anything quite yet on this until we can give you an updated map to use. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think from looking at the map, and thank you, Andrew, for bringing that up, but I think looking at this map, the markers where Liam has the markers probably wouldn't change, right? So like on the Franklin side, the two big switchbacks that are kind of like in the middle of Franklin are going to get adjusted, but that wouldn't necessarily change any of these signposts.
Okay.
So I think he's probably pretty good. It's just the map itself won't, like, if we print. Oh, maybe you're talking about actually printing the physical map.
Printing the map, Dave.
But
so
that would be the.
I thought we offered to print it for him. So when we're
Yes.
ready to print it, we will print it for him, right, Liam? Is that correct?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
That'll
right,
be
so-
the best way to do it.
Yeah, we'll provide you the map because we have a big format printer and we can print it out when we're ready. But Dave, what it does affect is the color of the arrows. And so we want to discuss and agree on,
Yeah.
if we're going to market whatever, the blue trail or red trail or whatever, and then what would he say for the little loops? We need to discuss. I like how he's renamed them Pico Loop, and I can't read the other one, Liam Loop. That's
Liam
funny.
Loop. Liam
And
to
then
cross into lower lot.
Two up.
Middle.
Yeah, I like the
I like all
descriptive names.
Hmm?
What's that? Yeah, and then maybe just the bottom one I would change to cross and maybe say something different. But I would just I want to get this map finished with Dave, and then I want to work on colorizing the circles or the loops that we talk about, and then once we agree on that, we can tell him what to order for the arrows. And Liam, the example you gave had a person walking, but we would hopefully prefer arrows on there. Maybe they didn't have that as an example, or what was your plan?
That was just a picture from the website. Yeah, they're gonna have errors on them though.
Excellent. Yeah, good. Okay.
I just wanted to throw. Oh, go ahead, Andrea. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, before we get too far ahead, Liam, on your first slide, it says cross and preserve. I think it should either say, well, and everyone can kind of
Franklin.
Franklin
Franklin.
Preserve is really what it should say. It's Crossan Park, but that section is Franklin Preserve.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Good catch.
So can we go back to the map slide? So Liam, I'm just thinking out loud, and this is sort of a question for the group and not for, and we'll probably discuss it later on. But when the map, so a map that is not being shown here had like 3 or 4 different colors in Franklin. And I just wanted to talk to the group about how we color loops. So I'm thinking about the way Banffshire is, right? So Banffshire has, if I might not have all the colors right, but the red loop is the perimeter loop, right? So if the red loop's the perimeter loop, it would include like the Liam loop here and then the Pico loop. And then these little cross ones would be like a separate loop. Or are we thinking like each one of these loops needs to be a separate color? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I'd like to work out, Dave. And we had asked them to remove those colors because I only have so many colors to use, and so there's little tiny loops. We just thought that'd be best to just leave them called Pico loop or Liam's loop, because the connector, the entrance and exit to those loops is just like the Liam loop is like 20 feet apart and the Pico loop is like 12 feet apart, so I don't want to send the main trail down that loop. I will like to leave it as an offshoot loop.
Again, this is a minor, and just a minor detail then. If they're so close, do we need the 2 signs? I guess we do need the 2 signs because it's in there.
Yes, you definitely do, because if you're coming from the other direction, you don't know that another sign is 20 feet ahead.
Yeah, that's true, for sure. Okay. Cool. I think it's awesome. This is something we've been wanting to do for 4 years, and it's awesome that this is happening. So I'm excited about it. Cool. Good project, Liam.
Thank you.
So, who gets the naming rights? Is that where did you come up with Pico Loop and Liam Loop? I mean, I don't mind. I think it's great, but that's.
I think it should be Gerstenhaber Loop, both of them.
Okay. I'm sorry, we can't fit that on the sign, Dave. That's just too much.
I actually think the last meeting we were just giving him suggestions that he could name it Liam Loop, but he didn't really care last time. Obviously, Board of Supervisors.
I'm happy to have it in his honor. I don't mind.
Liam Loop is just like a placeholder for now.
I think it's perfect.
I think it's okay. Leave it.
I don't think Liam thinks it's perfect. Sorry, this is his dad. Yeah.
Well, if it's named after him, he's got to maintain it.
Ah, there you go.
Excellent idea.
Okay. Well, I'm good with this. We'll update the map and give him some colors before he orders the markers. And Liam, could you show the marker again? Is the marker solid plastic or is it a sticker or what is it?
It's solid. I'm pretty sure it's solid plastic.
Okay.
They're engraved.
And you're showing an example there. I think that's from the white clay.
Yeah.
So is it about that size, which looks to be about 3-inch diameter? Is that what the Darcy's way is that you're going to order? About 3-inch diameter?
Yes.
Sorry, what was that?
3.5.
3.5. Okay.
How are they secured in there? Just is it screwed in? Is it glued in?
Little screws.
Screws.
So, but Dave, what we've learned from the White Clay Creek Preserve and we've done in Banffshire is we recess them into the wood to prevent vandalism. It makes it harder for somebody to peel the marker off, and it's worked. I mean, we haven't had any removed.
Right.
And I don't know if Liam's planning to do that or not, but it would be a nice way to keep, because they're just flimsy plastics. You can grab the edge and tear it off its screws. But if you have it recessed, it makes it harder to grab it.
Right.
Yeah, I was planning on doing that.
Okay, great. Yeah.
What's the, I'm going to put my manager hat on. What's the timeline? when are we going to present this to the board?
I was gonna do it the next meeting they have. But
Okay, so we're going to be meeting. The next meeting is February 20th. When is the next meeting?
21st.
In 2
21st.
in 2 weeks,
In
right?
2
So that
weeks.
would mean you would have to have this all put together and finalized by next Wednesday for Jeff.
Yeah, but Dave, let's get him through this board first to make sure we're recommending it, and then we'll talk when he sees you. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, I don't think there's any rush. Like for me, from our side, like I don't think there's any rush. It's I want to do it right. I was just think it was a, you know.
Are there any more slides, Liam?
yeah. This is a kiosk that's in there. That's like up the road from my house. That I was kind of like planning on copying and building.
So you showed us a better one last time. Is that it had a little more roof on it to protect the board from the rain? Can we go back to the other one, or what does everyone think about this one? The roof looks pretty minimalist here.
Yeah, the last one we saw had a larger roof and had plexiglass, but it was really tall. We said it didn't need to be that tall, but we liked the size of the roof, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I can always add more roof onto it, definitely.
And then Liam, will this have like some type of cover on it? I can't tell from this picture.
This one doesn't. Everything on it is laminated or like plastic.
Okay, I guess my only concern if it's not got plexiglass on, some people are start putting like advertisements or stuff that is not actually authorized by Franklin Township.
Yeah, let's please include plexiglass covering, and you can just simply screw it on, or put a frame on the plexiglass and put a hinge, whichever's easier for you. I don't know how good a carpenter you are, so I'll let you figure that out, but a sheet of plexiglass would be helpful to protect our maps and stuff, because the laminated stuff doesn't last too long out in the weather.
Okay.
So, but I would request that you go back to, like, I don't want to agree on this one, but then we want the other one. So if you could put the other one back in the slideshow, that would be better to show the supervisors which one we agreed to.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. So this is the budget, the materials and costs as of right now. It was like around 400 to 500. And I actually got a donation from Velo Amish me, which is a like bike, bicycle race in an organization for $250.
That's great. So how much are the markers are $10 each? I think that says. I'm on my phone, so it's hard for me to read it.
Yeah. Yeah, 1050.
So could I ask that you add in 2 or 3 colored arrows, just the generic ones, not the ones that say Liam's Loop or whatever, but just the generic ones. Because if, we're going to have a lot of those, 10 or more of the blue arrows, one on each side, maybe. So maybe even more than 10. So that's more likely to be vandalized. And so if we had a spare or 2, that would be great to keep at Jeff's office. In case over the years we lose one, it would be hard to replicate and find the company. And you know what I mean? Like just having a spare would be great. And it's, for 10 or 20 bucks or for 2 of them, 20 bucks, I think it'd be worth the township having that.
Yeah, I can do that. Definitely.
So you would come to the township asking for, I can't see the number, 138 or something, 133. And then
I'll
plus,
just add, I just looked it up real quick. Plexiglass is kind of expensive, but there are different types of plexiglass, but that would definitely add to his total.
oh, that's correct. Yes. Thank you. So I would say,
let me just jump in there real quick. Jeff, can you remind me how much we generally donate to Eagle projects?
$500, sir.
Okay. So, obviously the board will decide how we're going to proceed with the project and how much we can fund, but that's historically been the rate of roughly how much we donate. So when you look at that 133 for the township, let's do it right. And so we can, there might be more money to play with is my point. So plexiglass might be expensive. I don't know if Janet plexiglass is $1,000 for.
No. I just what size plexiglass? What size is that board, Liam? I could look at it. I'm on Home Depot's website right now.
So we asked it to be 3 foot by 4 foot is my recollection, but it might have been. It was a rectangle, it wasn't a square. Was it 3 by 4, Liam, or 2 by 4?
3 by 4.
3 by 4. So, Jen, that's going to be about 150 at Lowe's, but you can get it from the Amish Hardware for about 120.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at anywhere from like 75 to 200, so that's a good range if you put in like 150.
Well, and head over to the hardware store and get a quote, and then you'll know.
Yeah.
Then I just have a rough outline of the plan.
Wow, that's fast. That's great. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for my slideshow.
Liam, this is Jeff, and I apologize. I may have missed it. Would you be able to have your paperwork in for your presentation by next Wednesday?
Yeah.
I think we were going to postpone that, or was that what you're saying? Paul,
no,
you wanted to.
No, I was just saying, let's get through the slideshow and make sure there was no deal breakers that, like you were already moving on to step 2 and we hadn't quite finished.
All right, I misunderstood. Yeah, so we'll see Liam at the next board meeting. Cool.
Yeah, but Liam, that means you need to update the estimate and you need to change the photo of the kiosk and add plexiglass, or at least comment. If you can't find a photo of plexiglass, just comment, and then change the title slide. I think that was it.
Just one question for all the board pro board members and our board of supervisor members here. Will he need to have that updated map and then the proper color markers on the map for your approval in 2 weeks?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
that's something that we can figure out as we progress, right? So
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, like I think we understand that there's work to do with the trails, but at a high level, the costs aren't going to change.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the timeline, it should probably say pro and obviously board of supervisors to walk the trails, because, you know, just to make it sure it's finalized. And, you know, I know it sounds like it might change a little bit. So where it says walk trails with pro committee, I would add just pro committee and, you know, members of the board of supervisors who are interested in coming, to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Okay, yeah.
And then again, Liam, anywhere where you've mentioned Crossin, it should probably say Franklin Preserve. So install post and kiosk at Crossin.
Yeah, that should be Franklin.
Yeah,
Well, technically the kiosk is in Crossin.
I know. I was just thinking that, Mary. But the posts are in Franklin.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
Well,
good point.
it just depends where he puts it. If he puts it in the woods, it's Franklin. If he puts it outside the woods, it's right on the border.
But I think generally speaking, I think, Liam, the project is taking place within Franklin
Yeah.
Preserve. But I think if as long as that's clear, then you know it's fine.
Yeah, I think that's, we're probably splitting hairs, but for consistency's sake, I think, Andrea, I agree with you. Like, we should just say Franklin.
I agree with Andrea, because we don't want him to go before the board and they point out these little errors and then don't have faith in him. You know, we want him to have a clean presentation that's all, you know, dotted I's and crossed T's, and then it'll be better for his presentation.
Yep,
So,
I agree.
yeah, let's get it straight. So we're trying to help him and have him put forward a good foot so it'll get approved here.
Yep.
And
I
Liam,
agree.
feel free to send this to me once you've revised it, and I'll take another peek at it just to make sure that you've hit everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I look forward to
Good.
seeing the presentation at the next board meeting.
I have two quick questions. The post. I feel like remember last time someone was talking about using
5x5.
5x5 posts.
Because if you buy a 4x4 post, that
It's
means
not
it's
4
3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, right? And so if your disc is 3.5 inches wide, it makes it really easy to peel it off. So
Yeah.
we bought 5-inch posts so that it was fully recessed within the wood and the edges weren't exposed for peeling. So that I might be paranoid, but it was very small amount for a 5x5 instead of a 4x4. So that, I think we bought it from Oxford Lumber. So I don't know what you got quoted. I don't remember what your thing said, but if not Oxford Lumber, then the Amish Fence Company, and the name is escaping me. But it's standard 5x5 fence post. So then it's actually 4.5 by 4.5. So that gives you a 1/2 inch on each side. I don't know if you followed all that, but yes, I would prefer 5x5.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments on that?
That sounds fine.
Oh, totally
That's what's
agree.
in Bamshire, by the way. That's all it's in Bamshire is 5x5.
I think we all agree.
And then I was thinking of just getting like a single disc, just as an example for like to show the board. And I was wondering what color or like if you have a preference for what color the disc that point to the loops and the parking lot should be.
So I can't tell you yet because, as Dave mentioned, sometimes we stack the loops. And so what I'm afraid is this project might get a little more complicated. If we have 2 loops running on top of each other, we're gonna ask you to make or put 2 discs on there. But I guess you could just order if you like the blue, buy a blue disc and we'll find somewhere to use it with an arrow.
And so Liam, is this because are you coming in person then when you finally present this to the Board of Food Supervisors and you'll have like a sample disc to show them?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna come in person.
Yeah, I'd recommend coming in person. It's a better presentation and have a computer and they can give you, they'll project it on their TV screen. And then I suggest also you wear your scout uniform.
Yeah. That's all I have for you.
Yeah, this is Liam's dad. I'm gonna jump in. I've been trying to be quiet. I think it does a pretty good job this time. Liam, I think you wanted to know about the color for the signs to the parking lot, right? Maybe you could reframe the question that way. Discs.
Well, I would assume gray because that's what they use in White Clay Creek State Park for all cross trails or connector trails is gray. But I think just one sample disc is all you really need. But if you want to order a second one, then I would suggest gray. But it would have to say connector. Like, don't order a gray arrow because that wouldn't be as helpful.
Yeah.
Connector
No,
trail.
there were gonna be some discs that said, we talked last time. I'm sorry, man. I'm really trying to be quiet about Liam on the show. That said like 2 upper parking lot, 2 lower parking lot with an arrow.
Yeah, all gray. All gray, yeah.
Gray with
Yeah.
white text probably, I think is what they are broken. Yeah, we just wanted to get a couple samples to have them and before we ordered a whole bunch.
It's a good
Yeah, I
idea.
think that's a great idea, and I appreciate you helping. I'm like, this is a lot of work for somebody Liam's age, so the more people that can, help him and make sure we head off, questions, the better.
And on the I don't remember what the wording was, but in Banffshire I used exit to upper lot. If you can fit that on there, because that gives you, the word exit is sometimes all people want to know. They just want to get out. And so exit to upper lot. If you can fit it, otherwise an arrow with upper lot may be all you need.
Yeah.
But I do like the word exit because, like I said, when people want to get out, they don't know if to upper lot is a mile trail or it's, a quick exit.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
So that was actually one of the questions. We brought up a good point, Paul, about the signs. Are we going to put like a mile distance? Are there, like, if we have the blue loop, we'll have it be 2.5 miles, or is that something?
Yeah, it's hard to fit all that on the little markers.
Yeah.
But the easiest thing to do is just put it on the map at the entrance.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also talked about having little QR codes in various spots that would take you to a map that has those labels.
Right.
So maybe the markers have a QR code, but I don't know if we can fit it, or maybe just a QR code on the map at the entrance.
Okay.
And then they can have it on their phone while they're walking.
Yep.
So I did send a sample in Goddard Park. They do have brand new markers they just put up with mile distances. You know what we didn't talk about was the height of his post. Hopefully he's getting, what we did was bought 10-foot boards, cut them in half, and that gave us a 5-foot post, and it's 2 feet underground and 3 feet above ground.
Right. Have those already been purchased, or that's just what you did for Banffshire?
No, that's what we did for Banffshire.
Oh, okay.
And what we did for the Keene Trail.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I will mention that to Liam.
Yeah, sometimes people underestimate and then they buy 4 foot and then there's only a foot in the ground and they're easy to knock over. Or when the frost comes and they heave out, they fall over.
Okay. Okay, well, I think that this kind of, we can move pretty nicely into the next topic, which is the You Are Here map. I know that Dave, you and Paul, I think have been working on the map. Mary, do
have.
you want to, Mary, do you want to share the map?
I hate sharing my screen. I'm sorry.
I can do it. So I was playing with the map I need to see stuff for me to understand things. I need to see it. And so I've been playing with this map. I'm going to share my screen. Am I sharing it? You can see my presentation.
Yes.
All right. Let's make this as
Looks
big
good.
as I can. All right. So we being Paul, Jeff, Jim Johnson, and myself, we walked these trails on, I guess it was Friday last week, I think. And so as we were doing that, we were deleting trails and kind of trying to rationalize what we wanted to do. And I have a few things I wanted to walk through, but the first one I wanted to show was these black lines here are trails that, while they exist, we don't want to encourage people to use. So, and I wanted to make sure that I got these, what I'm calling deletes, correct. And I'll just kind of go through the list. So the first one is this trail here. We could call this ostensibly the Paradox Trail. This is the metal bridge that goes across the stream, goes through a field and then up through to Paradox. And currently, this trail gets mowed, and I think this trail up here gets mowed. And so the goal here is to just eliminate this, let this go back to natural land, and then we're gonna just move the trail in here along the forest line, so folks can go from Paradox all the way through and connect into Crossing Park. I think Matt Thompson is going to handle this. So shorthand, as you go through this, these like brown trails are trails that Matt Thompson is going to put in or has put in.
Dave,
So that's deleted.
as you talk about the eliminations, can you just tell us the reasoning, just so it's people understand why?
So for this, it's to eliminate the mowing. And this is just a much more pleasant walk. So where rather than going straight up and having all these people mow and maintain, this won't require any maintenance. This is a very similar trail to what we have in here, where we don't need to mow these trails.
Okay.
So eliminate maintenance, save money, and actually create more
Habitat.
uninterrupted habitat. So that's the first one. I think I got that one right. So the next one we talked about were this trail system in here. These are all these wet trails that we don't want to encourage people to use because they end up just down here in the wet. There's a project that we're going to talk about in a minute, and we'll get to that. But so these, I think, were already deleted, Mary, correct, from the master map.
Yes.
And then we've got this. This is just a little one-off. This is a little bit of an access road that currently gets mowed. That's really not necessary. So we're just not going to mow it anymore. So my point here is when we talk about deleting these, there's no effort is going to be put into getting rid of these things. It's just we're not going to maintain them. So that's this one. There's this one.
Well, we do need to remove the. Dave, we do need to remove the signage that's there.
Yes.
There is current original park signage with arrows at every intersection. So we do need to remove that.
So the stuff in here and here and here. All right. So let me add that as a note here. I'm going to put it in my notebook here. Removing signage.
And will we be taking out the old like boardwalks that the Boy Scout put in years ago? Like, will there be something to like deter people from using that area?
Yeah, I
So,
think, oh, go
um,
ahead, Paul.
Oh, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna remove them because I think there's some other uses that we can actually use those boards for.
Okay.
Because if again, I guess part of it is if this tends to get really wet and these things after a big storm, those boardwalks get moved around. So we talked about some potential other uses for those. And I guess the way I think about it is, if it's not on the map, people may not traverse down there anyway. But I think it's probably for the best to remove them. We have some other options that we might use them for. I don't think they're going to get tossed completely away. I don't know if Paul, if you have anything to add to that.
Well, yeah, you haven't talked about the future trail on the straight line there. Is we would use 2 or 4 of those boardwalks, but then next year, if Dave allows, we would try to do a little loop at the bottom and reuse some of those boardwalks as well.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that later in the discussion.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just so right now it's trails that we're discouraging, and then we're going to talk a little bit about proposed trails. Then let's move down here. So we have there's a couple of trails in here that are again we're quote abandoning. This one's a little tricky to show. Let me see if I can zoom in. Not that it really matters too much.
I don't.
But this here is the usable loop. This is going to be put in, and I'll get to reason why there. I think this one is getting deleted. And this one is that trail that comes straight down that has that hard right off the bridge. This is another one where we have a better, softer trail that folks can get into the main loop.
Something's not quite right there, Dave, but I don't want to pick.
Yeah, well, we can fix it later, but I think there's something. It's this one. There's a trail here with that hard right?
That's on. Move your mouse to the right a little bit.
This one,
a little more. Yeah, right there. That's the bridge.
Oh, the bridge is here.
Yes. So that red trail and brown trail shouldn't be overlapping. I don't know why the brown trail is there. I think that's in the wrong spot.
So So
you added that. You added
I did.
that.
I added this.
All right, that's in the wrong spot. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this. Okay, we'll fix that. So this needs to be here.
That's good. Yeah.
That needs to be there. Okay.
Yep.
So actually, I just need to move this, and we'll just put that here.
Correct.
And leave it as it is. Okay.
But what you have then, though, is the brown trail you drew on the red trail right there. Yeah, that's the steep downhill. So I don't want to encourage the steep downhill. Like that.
So this needs to get fixed.
Okay.
All right. So let me just circle it. That needs to get fixed.
Okay.
That needs to get fixed. This is correct though. This is that one that we walked where it was all wet. Right.
The horseshoe at the bottom was wet. The rest is dry. Yeah. That's what I wanted to make into a cross trail.
Right. So and that's in here, and I may not have drawn it correctly, but but we'll talk about the cross trail in a minute.
Okay.
And then, but so far this is all correct, right? This is we're going to talk about this. This is the post road trail. We're deleting this, and then this is that post road trail that goes into this section here. The one question that I had, and I think Paul, you and I walked this one, and it was dry, but it was straight uphill. Is this something that we want on the official map, or do you think we should just delete it and just keep it as an access trail?
I don't mind either way. It does have arrows and signage, and I would just suggest leaving it on the map because people might be confused if they come to an intersection and it's not shown on the map.
I guess my other thought was, and I'm on the same page as you are, is it's also if you park down here, you can get in. You can get in right there.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad idea. Just keep it there. So I'll keep it there.
And as I mentioned, it's not eroding, so it's not the best design, but it's not harming anything to leave it there.
Okay. So this is a trail that is basically mowing. So Jen, to your point, what we're trying to do is eliminate maintenance. And this is a trail that is also not very fun. The kids go in and then they get dumped into a parking lot. So this way, the hikers or mountain bikers, whomever, can stay in the woods, stay on the trail, and then they can continue on. So there's actually this connector loop here. So people they don't ever necessarily have to go into a parking lot or try to traverse. They can stay in the woods if they want. So that's why we're getting rid of this one.
And you mentioned being visual. Can you guys just zoom out and just show me what this kiosk from Liam B? Just
So
right next to
kiosks-
the P in parking. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
so
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. So this is around where Liam will have the kiosk. Okay.
yeah, so Liam will have a kiosk here, and I think here, and then he's doing one, right?
He's just doing one.
Doing one. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got to get that design right because we'll probably want to use the same design for all the kiosks.
Yeah, he showed a much better design last time, so I'm not sure why he switched.
All right, so that's this. So before we move on, I just want to make sure I think everything else up here is good. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so scrolling down. We are going to just remove these switchbacks and make this still wavy and a good trail to walk on. But we want to kind of, again, stick to perimeter trails where we can in the preserve. So these two trails will just get, these two switchbacks will get reduced to just this perimeter trail.
Yeah, I like the word reduce better than eliminated because it is very steep there. So you do need some sort of switchback, but I agree. If you want it reduced, it is longer than it needs to be. So it can be. I'm just.
Yep. Yeah, and we've talked about that. This isn't a one-to-one trail. This is just me squiggling a line in. But the trail will have switchbacks in here. They just won't be as severe as they are here. We want to just kind of, again, there's a couple of parts to this story, and one is just to try to keep as much open space as we can and keep the preserve a preserve. So that's what we're trying to do there.
Can I just ask
And
a question while you're in the preserve real quick? Are any of these ones of the trails that the biking club just put in? Like, are we like, is this a lot of something that they put a lot of work in and then we're just getting rid of?
no, so this is the biking club's doing this.
They are. Okay.
Rehab. Yeah. So
Yeah, Matt,
I just didn't know if it's
Matt
something
was
that we
with
need to
us.
go back and.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Matt is all these brown trails are stuff that Matt's working on.
Okay, great.
Okay, so
and Dave,
I didn't want to like have them have done all this work and then we like that getting rid of it.
No, yeah.
Okay, so in the back near Paradox, those trails, they just kind of, they stop getting mowed, they go away essentially, except for the boardwalk planks, and you discussed that. The other stuff in Franklin Preserve, the switchback, all those changes, Matt's crew is going to take care of that. Okay.
Yes. Yep. And so we'll get to then we'll get to the project itself that we were talking about for the pro.
Can I ask one more question, just real quick? On the one thing you're eliminating in the preserve, is it something that we would need volunteers maybe to like, I don't know, rehabitat or like, I don't know, like, is there a way to fix
we'll
that?
probably just let it go.
You think it'll go on its own? Like, we don't need to.
Yeah,
these trails are really just like cleared paths. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like next year, you won't even know there's a trail there.
Okay, great.
Yeah, he didn't do much. He didn't need to do much cutting, like to level the ground or anything. He just raked a path, and it's very deep woods, meaning not much underbrush. So he didn't like clear sticker bushes to get through or anything. It's just open woods, and he raked a path.
Yeah,
and Matt was okay with realigning it.
I guess I have Greg in the back of my mind just saying is like, this isn't going to turn to like vines or like something that like it's going to be a problem. Like, I guess that's, I always worry about vines, invasives. So Greg's work would be invasives.
I guess the way you look at it is no more so than any other part of the park, So like one of the things that we saw back here was tons of invasives and vines, and it's one of the things that we talk about is actually starting to spend more time in here just clearing stuff. So
Jen, no, this is deep woods. Don't worry about the switchbacks. They'd be fine. But Dave, could you leave it zoomed out for just a second? I just want to say for the public record is there was a comment on our walk that, the pro put in all these trails in Franklin Township, Franklin Preserve, I mean. And just to be clear, the board allowed the biking club to do it, and they did a great job, but it wasn't the pro doing it. Like, the pro was not building all these trails, although I fully support what Matt did, but it wasn't our workers or our designs.
And all right, so moving down, the other piece here is this is the trail. This is probably the worst trail we've got you can see my cursor, right? Going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this is probably the worst trail we've got. It's straight down. It's kind of really not a good trail to even walk up or down. So the goal here is eliminate it, take it off the map. So this is just one loop, and then we have kind of a much that doesn't erode that connects up to the loop here.
So then, Dave, I had mentioned on the walk that it's so steep there, it's really going to have to be a switchback. So you start there, and then you end up where the black meets the red, and it would be, and you said, let's lay it out in the field. And so I agree, we got to lay it in the field, but I suspect it'll be a switchback, not a straight trail like that.
Yeah, I didn't know how wide to make I was just drawing it. So it'll be either a switchback or, I think the way, so there's a couple of ways to think about it is, do we go down like this, right? Or do we kind of go down and try and get it to here?
Yeah, that would be my preference, is because then you don't lose all that trail that's in there. So where your line is, just go halfway to your line. Yeah, to the middle. And right there, just cut a switch back. Yeah, to there. That's all I'm asking. Like, it's not a big change. It's just
why would you? I mean, that's not that it matters, but why not just have it go straight to like right here, or here?
Like I said, I think we'll see how steep it is in the field, and when you get a steep downhill like that, you collect water, and without a switchback to shed water, you're going to cause trouble.
Oh, for sure. I was just thinking about where it connects. Like, it doesn't necessarily, this could just be the top of the loop or bottom of the loop, right?
Right.
Doesn't necessarily need to be an intersection in there, but it doesn't matter. I 6 1/2 doesn't matter if it's there or here. But we need to.
One question though, before we eliminate that, is I thought later, Dave, at the bottom of the hill where the blue stream is there a bridge there? Isn't there a small bridge? I can't remember, actually.
We didn't go down there. I don't know what's down there. Is there a
Where
bridge
are you talking about? I'm sorry, where?
Right here.
There is a bridge there.
There's a bridge here and here.
There's big bridge.
There's two bridges down. There's two bridges down in that section. There's one kind of right where your cursor is, and there's another farther up, right, somewhere back there.
So
there was a Boy Scout. There was an Eagle Scout bridge done 25 years ago, probably, down by the soccer fields, kind of closer to that end. So there are two of them.
So Dave, let's just look at it before we eliminate the access, how we could rebuild the bridge. And if it's a small one, maybe we don't need truck or vehicle access. Maybe we can just carry the supplies down. But
I just want to. Yeah, and I think when I say delete, I just think from the official map. Like, this could always still be here, right? It's just we don't necessarily want people using it. So what's the concern with the bridge? Like, why would that bridge impact this closing?
That's the only access to bring wood and materials down when it needs to be worked on or replaced.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Just access, but maybe we can access it from the other bridge. Maybe we can. I don't know.
We'll look at it.
Yeah, let's just look at it. We did not walk that section, and I remembered later there's a bridge, so let's just check it out.
So this is again another piece where we'll have a conversation.
By the way, that I do agree that steep black part is a very poorly designed trail. Like, that was not a good idea, and I'd like to eliminate it if we can. So I agree with that.
Okay. So I'm just going to circle this as a point of discussion. Bill?
I was wondering, Mary, why you made the backstops red. Like, I don't know if Mary did that.
Oh, here?
Yeah. I was like, what is that? Oh, that's the backstop. Maybe the computer picked up as a line and just made all the lines red or something.
Yeah, it's fine.
The red is all, the red is just what the existing trails were probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but the backstop is red. It was a curiosity. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, the fences for the baseball diamonds are red too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It is what it is. All right. All right. So point of discussion that we'll need to work on, Paul, is like this area here, just so I can get that right. And then we'll figure out what this looks like and get that right. But everything else looks like okay, right? This is pretty much what everyone had in mind.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks great.
Cool. All right, so let's talk.
Can I ask a question about some of the red ones that just like just end like and don't look like they connect to something? Is that just the way the map draws them?
No, they end into a mowed surface, and on the official map, there was no trail there. It's a mowed surface, so it's
okay, but it is okay. But somebody can make that whole loop. Okay.
So I think eventually. Oh, go ahead.
Where are you talking about? Could you point to it? So maybe I'm not answering.
Like right here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
like
so
right there.
Yeah.
Like
so
it just dumps you into the
surface.
field. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are mowed.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess one of the questions would be, because it's not really obvious to me when I walk through here that there's a trail entrance there.
Well,
like
that would be a good place for a sign on the paved trail. You put a sign that says, yellow loop this way.
Yeah.
What we
so
have
I think
today is at the wood line, we have a little white arrow. That's the current markings, and we could change that.
Yeah, it's just something that we can do. We'll talk about that. Let's get this side done first, and then we'll figure out what this is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, cool. So, this was just me being anal retentive and wanting to make sure I understood exactly what was going on. But the reason that we all got together was to talk about a trail rehabilitation project. I think I called it the Old Post Road Restoration Project. And so there's a couple of slides here, and what I would like to do, and this is something to really help us, when I say us, the board, kind of understand how the project will progress. So why are we talking about this? One, we want to reestablish dry trails, eliminate the wet trails, and rationalize the whole trail system. So if people get on a trail, they don't end up in a swamp. They end up on a nice dry surface. And what we're talking about, and I'm kind of saying this not for this team, but for the public who might be listening, is we're not creating any new trails. All of these trails exist. They have just been either abandoned or are in need of a little bit of rehab to get to a better walkable and enjoyable state. So this is the trail system that we're talking about. And I broke it down into like 3 phases. The first one is the gravel trail that takes us from the northwest parking lot, to the bridge, the steel bridge that goes over the river. That's been eroded, heavily eroded. It's an established trail, but it's just we need to add gravel to raise the trail up a bit, and there's some berm work to guide water away from washing the trail. And I think we plan on just using volunteer labor, and we have stone at the township office. So that would be phase 1. I don't know, Paul, if you have anything you want to add to this or talk about this little section here about why we want to do this.
You said it well. It's
all right.
It's in need of some help.
Yep. This one is, I think this is a pretty cool project. This is the Old Post Road restoration. So the trail is already there. We walked it. There's a clear elevated path that goes end to end here. By this yellow line. There is this blue stream that's actually outside of the area we're talking about. This is a raised bed. And so phase 2 of the project is to restore and clear this established trail. It's a historic trail. It's an old post road, and it's just become overgrown. I think, again, when we put in this trail system, we kind of neglected to do some of this work. So this eliminates the northernmost trail. So we've already talked about that. It's going to take away this, and these this southern loop here keeps people dry, keeps people out of the wet areas, and it helps reestablish this wetland here. And then this will again be accomplished by volunteer labor. I don't think there's too much work other than just manual labor to remove the overgrown brush and reestablish the trail. I don't know if there's any. Okay, go ahead.
2 comments would be, yeah, it's very easy to clear 90% of it. The last 10% at the red line will take a little more effort.
Yep.
And then at each end, we need to build a small bridge, and we're hoping to just reuse those boardwalks as the small bridge. But if the gap is too wide, we might have to do something a little more substantial, but it's not major. But that would be something we have to look at closer. And then, Dave, you have one small mistake. Is the yellow line actually does not cross the red line. Like we stop at the gravel walkway. So the roadbed continues. The roadbed continues all the way to Pico. But I'm proposing to stop it. Yeah, for now. I mean, I would love, a future dream plan was to continue all the way to Pico so that we have a through trail through the park. But for this current project, we would stop at the gravel drive.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be argumentative, but any reason why we would just not, or does it become problematic back here?
I see the little blue stream.
Yeah.
It's a 24-foot bridge.
Oh,
so, right. and I'm happy to, that's a great scout project. So maybe if a scout comes in, Dave, we'll come to you and say, can we extend, the yellow trail and put in a 24-foot bridge? You know what I mean? Like that might be a good addition, because the little brown trail next to it, is not very, not very nice. It could be moved.
Okay. So
that would
I'll just delete this little yellow part here, bring it
for
back,
now.
And then
that's my suggestion for now, is to delete that yellow part.
Perfect. And then, all right. And then the final phase here is this, again, these are all established trails. It just needs to be rehabilitated. There's some areas that are wet that we need to move the trail, potentially move the trail or raise the trail, whatever we think is the easiest thing to do. And again, volunteer labor. So really it's just so we can walk here without, sinking into the mud.
So the yellow line's a little too long going uphill there. You could probably cut that in half. Yeah, get rid of that bottom part. Otherwise looks good.
All right, perfect. So there we go. So we're going to delete that little part. It's just really this little T. Okay. All right. So the reason I wanted to bring this up is it's, at least the way I think is pretty linear, if you hadn't guessed already. And so I can talk to the board about, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. And it's easy to understand. So I guess as we progress on this plan, and I don't know, Paul, if, in your mind, what you're thinking in terms of timeline and like when we can get at all of this stuff, but we wanted to, as we do it, and again, one of the things that we talked about in our walk was making sure we give, credit where credit is due and celebrate our successes. And so as we go through this process, right, so we get phase 1 done and we go to the board and say, hey, phase 1 is done. We got a nice dry trail now that goes to the bridge, and now we can take a dry walk all the way up to Paradox. That's something that we can celebrate, and it's easy to point out. And similarly with Old Post Road Trail, I think this is an interesting one. And I think we talked a little bit about, is there some signage or information that we could put along here, and maybe even a picture of an old map that has some of that, that trail outline when it was an actual road, might be something interesting. But so that's the plan, and I'm calling this like our approved plans. You know, we had some representation from the board and on this, and because it's going to be volunteer, we're not going to be, you know, buying a huge amount of materials, or we may not even need to buy much materials at all. This is kind of a no-brainer project. All right, so here's the proposal. So before we move on, I guess, is there any questions about how I presented this, or is things unclear? Are we excited about this?
I don't have any questions about what, you know, kind of what you've discussed specifically. I am curious because if, and my kids walked in at one point, maybe I missed it, but did you guys discuss I mean, I think when you were talking about doing a walk around at Crossan, you know, one of the things you guys were going to look at was the relocating the path from the lower parking lot, soccer field. And so did you guys look at that at all, or did I miss a conversation on that? And if I did, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So it's the cross trail date that I keep bringing up, that we
this
looked
right
at
here
it in the field.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for proposed trails.
Okay.
So
we haven't talked about it yet, Andrea. Yeah. We looked at it in the field, but we haven't brought it up tonight.
So yeah, right now I was just discussing what's the you know, what we
the restoration
project.
Gotcha. Okay, all right.
That we can go without really any further, like no further board discussion.
Yeah,
so
no, I think that sounds like a great plan. I love the idea of, I mean, I think we, you know, when we were talking about the hunting back there were many neighbors who said that they sent their kids back there to run around after school, and the kids just kind of like all, you know, made their way back into the woods. And so I love the idea of, you know, more accessible trails for them and everyone else back there.
Cool. Great. All right, so there are 3 proposed trails that we talked about on when we had our walkabout. The first one Paul alluded to. This is in the northernmost part of the park. I wrote something over here. So this trail is an established trail, meaning that there was some boardwalks that were put down there as a scout project. I think, I don't remember, doesn't matter. But it was a scout project perhaps. And it's wet. It's perpetually wet down there. And so we were talking about options. Do we, you know, it will be nice to have a connector here, just so folks aren't stuck at a dead end and have to double back. They can just keep their walking, and if they keep walking the loop, they go back up on the trail and they're back in the system. And so I think one of the things that we all talked about was, it is pretty wet. We did walk through there after a bunch of rain and heavy snow. And so what we want to do is just wait. We're going to wait until spring of 2025 and reevaluate. We want to make sure that there's sufficient drainage here, so we might be able to support a trail where we're not constantly resetting the boardwalk. So we want to hit a pause button on this one and focus on some of the other priority projects. So once we get the Old Post Road Trail in, we'll revisit this road. Revisit this trail. And if we can't really figure out how to get this to work, then we'll just abandon it and leave it as it is. I think when we looked at it, it was pretty heavily wet, much like the rest of this trail back here. If anyone's ever had the misfortune of walking down here, it gets pretty wet. So that's that trail. I don't really want to spend too much time on that, because we're just going to revisit that next year. Paul, ignore the big loop. I just drew this in. So Andrea, this is what I think you were talking about. I just called it the east-west connector. So we have in Crossan Park a really nice paved walk that folks enjoy. And those folks don't tend to not want to go into the woods. They don't want to get dirty and walk on these dirt trails. And this paved path stops right here where this dotted white line begins, and there's nowhere to go. It dumps onto a dirt trail that takes you down to the bridge, or you can go around this way and it takes you down to the bridge. And so what Paul is proposing is to make I'm going to call it a walkable hard surface, Paul. There's lots of different, it's either, could be paved or could be gravel. Who knows what that is, but it's a walkable hard surface connector that would allow walkers who prefer paved or hard surface trails to avoid walking on the road, right? So right now they come to the end of the trail and they cut over and then they walk on the road. So the thought here is to just stay on this. If you want to stay on this paved path, and again, Paul, I just drew a line in here. It could be whatever it looks like.
And it would reconnect at the red line, so you never get off the hard surfaces, I'll call it. So one more white dot, right there.
So go right there.
Yeah, and Dave, but one bonus is that I think is the biggest selling point for me is that the brown trail just above it would be eliminated, because that is the super steep downhill trail that it's inappropriate for biking, and you have to make a hard turn at the bridge. So I don't want the board to say, hey, you're adding too many trails, because I'm actually adding one that's workable and eliminating one that is too steep.
Right.
That's so I think an important point.
So it's, and this is, again, goes back to, I have to fix this in here. This is
right.
Where it's confusing. Right. So I think actually nothing is here. I don't think there's a trail here at all. I think all
there
of
is.
This is gone.
That's a trail that goes from the bridge.
No, what I'm saying, Paul, is this trail is going to get deleted completely, because this is that hard right trail, right? So you come down, if you're walking in the woods, you come down this trail and you don't go left, you just stay on the trail and you go around here, you go down, right? I think what we're saying is we're getting rid of this whole thing right here.
No, I think you're lost a little bit, but we'll
fix it. Yeah, we'll fix it. And so what I'm suggesting.
Think what would help you a lot is if I have Mary or I'll help you put where the bridge is, and then that can be your focal point. You'll know where you are from the bridge.
Perfect. So Paul, I'm suggesting you propose the plan.
Okay.
For the BOS, and I think one of the things that would help is if we get it laid out.
I owe them a walk. I told them I'd walk with them. So I will go mark it with flags in the field, clear some brush so they can walk it, not make a trail, just clear some of the stickers, because you saw how thick some of the spots were.
Yep.
And then they can walk with me, and then they can discuss it as a board.
Yeah. And I think from my point of view, and again, it's I don't want to, so I'm not saying no to anything, but I think a paved trail is a harder ask than if we can come up with some sort of gravel permeable surface type. But I think we just throw your proposal together and we'll talk about both options.
Okay.
With paved, I think the concern is also regulations, because we're going to be creating a paved path, and when you start talking about impervious surfaces, it creates problems. Whereas if we have gravel or some other type of surface, it has a little different, no pun intended, texture when you're trying to put in a new trail.
And my only question is if it's gravel or paved, this isn't meant for biking. This is meant just for walking, right? Are we sharing?
Yeah, I think
you can do either. You can do either, but it's unlikely the bikers are on the asphalt heading into the woods. But I'm not saying bikers can't ride on the asphalt trails. I see little children on their bikes on the asphalt trails, and I'm happy for that, right?
Right.
And if
I'm
a
happy
child
with that. I guess it's just like, if an older person's walking on this and wants to walk through the woods, like, are they going to be,
So I mountain bike in here, and I would think that we would this is more enjoyable.
Correct.
Than going through here. Like, this is something I would like to walk, but if I'm going to ride my bike, I want to do this.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just so.
Yeah, and I guess my only question is if it's a blind turn, like if a biker's coming around, like you're saying that's walkable. Like, I just wondering if there's some areas where a biker wouldn't see if a walker was on the path and they came around super fast or something. Again, I'm not a mountain biker, so I don't know any.
We won't. we won't have blind. No, it's not like that. You have to see it in the field, Jen.
Yeah, and I think for most spots, even when you think about the larger park, the line of sight is pretty good. Like it's really, there's only a few areas where you would end up sneaking up on somebody. You can usually see folks if they're walking or on mountain bikes or what have you. So, all right, so that's Paul's going to propose this, and the last one I think I'll propose, and this one isn't critical, but I think it might be interesting to do. So this is a field that we currently mow. There's a trail here that's a mowed trail. And the problem here is this field is filled with poison hemlock. And so the proposal, and I know there's plans already in place for dealing with the poison hemlock and mowing this. But I think and I'm floating this probably for the first time to this group for certain, is I'm proposing to just delete this and having a tree line trail that goes around this open space. And then if we can treat the hemlock and then turn just this into a meadow, just an open space meadow, send it right back to nature. That way, again, we're having more continuous, untouched space. And then it's one less thing that has to be maintained. So this trail would be another one of those bike trails that are just brush clearing, where we're not putting gravel down. We're really just raking aside leaves and maybe putting some grading in, and then creating another meadow area here. This one we have to think about, but in my mind, I'd much rather not be mowing when we don't have to be mowing, and maintaining a trail when we don't have to be maintaining a trail. So that's just my thought here. I don't really see if I put anything else in here. Yeah, so we could either do leave it a meadow, turn it into a meadow, or maybe do a tree planting in here and kind of reclaim forest. But I think there's a lot more interesting options for that area than just kind of leaving it as a place where you mow. So I'm actually opening that up to conversation because, I'm not sure if this is something that's an interesting idea to turn this into a larger meadow or a tree planting opportunity.
I know Greg's not here, but he would definitely like it if it became a meadow, or if you guys put it back to more trees. I know there's grants that might even help with that.
Okay.
So I want to separate, though, whether the trail is through it or not, we can still make it a meadow or trees. Like they should not be discussed like one eliminates the other. They're not exclusive. So
yeah, for sure. That's right.
Of course, I would support it being a meadow or planted for trees. It is pretty far from the White Clay Creek, so funding might be a little more difficult, but it is overrun with hemlock. So before you can plant a meadow, you really have to get rid of the hemlock, which we're trying to do. So that's first. Yeah. And second, I agree. I do not like trails through grass areas because, as we said, they require more mowing. But to be clear, for the township supervisors, no township money's been spent mowing that. That's all the bike club. Like they have done
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I don't want the public to hear that we're spending money, mowing that. It's a bike club.
Yeah, I think the point here is that it's just maintenance. You have to maintain it, and let's take the money out, but it's someone's time and effort. And I think the other thing that I'm worried about is, and I think we've gotten lucky, is people walk these trails with their dogs. They walk through these trails, and we don't want people getting poison hemlock rashes.
I agree, and we're hoping to take care of that. But so two thoughts: that poison hemlock, it's. I think we're overstating it. It's not like instant death if you touch it type stuff. Maybe more like poison ivy, where you get a bad reaction, and if you eat it, you're in trouble. But hopefully, nobody's going to eat it. But the second is, Dave, I'm always happy to make a trail longer. So I love your idea of the perimeter. But I know that area very well. And when Matt and I laid out the original trail, it is very difficult to do the perimeter. So we'd have to go look at it. in detail with
Okay.
you in the field. It gets very steep along the blue water there.
Mm.
So there's not enough room for switchback. So what happens is you're going to end up going straight uphill. And then at the top of your picture, that is a very wet area. So we're fighting two foes there, steepness and wetness.
Okay.
We might be able to sneak something in, find just a small area that's dry enough to get across and enough switchbacks to make it up the hill. But I'm telling you, we tried originally and abandoned it. So we didn't want to take on any extra hardship when we laid out the trail originally. So
no, I understand.
maybe...
So this is something, again, this is not an emergency. So let's work on it. And figure out what we want to do there.
The other thing, Paul, I wanted to say is I know you said that poison hemlock's not that serious. I personally think it is a concern. There are people who pick it by accident and it's way more dangerous than poison ivy. So I know I'm a worrier. I'm like want the volunteer forms and all this stuff signed. But I do think, to Dave's point, like I am worried about the poison hemlock. I think it's becoming a serious problem in all of Pennsylvania. I mean, they started spraying in Chester County for it because it's so serious.
Well, if it is so serious, we could spray it in one season and it will be gone. You know what I mean? Like if it's really that bad, we got to take care of it. But I haven't heard of any poison hemlock poisonings lately.
Well,
but it can give you serious rash. It can give you serious rash for sure.
Well, and if someone has asthma or something, I think there was a gentleman, and not in Chester County necessarily, and of course you could find the one bad case everywhere, but somebody did recently, in the news, somebody passed away from it. But again, I'm an alarmist. I know I am. So.
Well,
let's spray it then. Dave, you should spray it.
Yeah. I think that might be part of the plan. We have a mitigation plan in place. I think part of it is just to mow it down and keep a better job mowing it. Which for what it is,
we were. Just
but my preference though, and this is again to your point, is I want to separate, the trail versus the meadow, and say like my preference is to not have areas that we're mowing that we don't have to mow, right? So it's not like we mow this so kids can play baseball or soccer. We mow it because it has to get mowed. I would much rather, if we can, do a tree planting or a meadow and just let it go, because it seems like it's an unnecessary. There's just unnecessary labor. It's not to your point. It's not costing us anything. But it just seems like it's unnecessary. When we talk about a preserve, we should try and preserve it.
So for the poison hemlock, our plan, we were mowing once a year at Greg's request. He wanted it to be as much meadow as possible, but the poison hemlock as an invasive is taking over. So we agreed to up it to mow it multiple times. And maybe Andrea can correct me, but I think it was when we see it sprouting up, we'll go mow it, or maybe twice or three times a year or something like that. And we'll see if this summer, if that works. And if it is, we'll keep doing it. And if it doesn't, we were going to switch to spraying.
My plan's I'm sorry.
Sorry, Jeff. I thought, and Jeff, you can correct me because I think you had the conversation. I thought the plan was to mow it early so that it didn't go to seed, right? And then spread.
It is to mow it early. So I will be working with your father-in-law and to get that done. So their idea was to cut it early, and then if they can't get it in hand through mowing a couple of times during the year, then go to spraying. But that's totally up to the board. That was their ideas.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've talked about this as a board.
No, but Dave, no, we presented it to the board. Greg Sachs and I presented it to the board.
Oh, okay.
And we said just what Jeff said. Like
all right.
think I said the same thing as Jeff. But I'm in agreement with him. If I didn't say it, I'm in agreement with him.
Okay,
so Paul, I think we'll probably have to get that information and present it again. I mean, I think that, the board has made it clear that there is a new board now, right? And so, and Dave can correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like you guys, if something is agreed upon in 2023 and it's not taking place till 2024, then we need to, have the conversation again and just make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
think in this situation, it's not like it requires board approval. It's something we're already doing. We just ask you to do it more, right? We're going to say we're going to mow it 2 or 3 times instead of once. I think the question would be like, we just want to know if it's effective, right? So like if you mow it, is the thought here that we'll mow it 3 times this year and then the poison hemlock won't go to seed, so it won't reproduce, and now we will have a poison hemlock free zone? Or is it something that we're just going to be mowing 3 times a year, right?
So the
That's what I
answer,
don't understand.
we don't know the answer, but the seeds can survive several seasons. But the idea is
Yeah.
if we're winning, like if we see it less and less, at the end of the year, it looks good, and we do
Yeah.
more next year, more money, then we're winning. We'll just continue. But if we see
Okay.
we're losing the battle or not making improvements, then we switch to spray. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, and my
Okay.
my only thing is there been any research into this? Because there's some articles that say that by cutting it, it's then on the equipment, and then that equipment is spreading it further.
So
That
that's
is
why we
true, I think. And that's why I think that they were going to try and cut it before it went to
Before
seed.
it
Because
seeds.
right. You have to. That's exactly right. You mow it before seed because yes, you would spread the seed on your equipment. That's correct.
And the downside to just spraying and being done with it is that we're spraying herbicide.
A lot of chemicals.
Yeah, we're
Right.
And then
And
spraying next to a vineyard too. We have to be careful what chemicals we would use.
Oh, that's a very good point, Jeff.
Yeah, and
Right.
it was just trying to stay away from the chemicals. But you're right. If everyone's urgently wants to take care of it, we go right to chemicals. But I'm saying let's try mowing first.
Yeah, it's not an emergency, right? It's not an emergency. All right. So anyway, that's the trail plan. So we got 3 proposed trails, and then I got a couple of things I need to correct in here. And then I guess once I get it corrected, Andrea, I'll just send this to you.
yeah, that's fine.
And
That
then we
works.
can put it up, whatever, if you have a Dropbox or something for the pro.
Mhm.
Oh wow, we've been
So
talking
Dave, I
for
want
a
to
while.
work with you. I want to work with you on correcting that
Yep.
messy area there by the bridge. So maybe we could do that separately.
Yeah, we can. We'll just set up a Teams call or something and do it.
Yeah,
Sounds
and I just
good.
want to. Mary did have to hop off. She had something come up, and so, but she told me to let you guys know if you need any other corrections to the map, just reach out to her, and she'll help. She'll help with that.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So who else is still on? Kyle, Jen. So again, one thing I should talk about is so I'm replacing Donna as the board liaison for the pro. We were talking about some of the responsibilities that the Board of Supervisors is taking on. One big one is our MS4 requirement, and so Donna is going to spend most of her time focused on our MS4. I know all of you are big fans of Board of Supervisors meetings, so I'm sure that was a joke. You should realize we're making some changes to our engineering firms, and we're really doing a lot of work trying to get that right. So Donna is going to be in charge of that, and I'll be the liaison for the board. So I guess with that, I just wanted to say I'm looking forward to working with this team. This was, when I ran one of the platforms I ran on was the creation of the pro, and it was that board created the pro, and so it's important to me to see the board successful, and I want to be helpful. I want to be helpful and make sure that the pro is successful and working on things that you're excited about. So that's really all I wanted to say. So yeah, that's all I have, Andrea.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that,
Yeah.
and I appreciate kind of what you brought to tonight's meeting. I wasn't expecting that, but it was a pleasant surprise to see kind of all this, trail work, all the ideas.
Cool.
No,
Thank you.
I think the map with the crossouts and stuff is helpful, but I think we do want to try to get out there in person and see it. I know we've been trying to catch up with each other to try to like actually walk the trails because it's kind of hard to visualize it without.
Oh, well, I love that. Let's do that this week. Like, does anybody have any time?
Okay,
Friday evening or
as I suggested, I don't have time this week, but maybe next week.
something?
But and maybe even like definitely
Weekend
before
is gonna
Liam
be
starts.
beautiful. This weekend will be beautiful. I mean, I don't care about a football game personally, but I'm around this weekend, so we can figure that out.
So Jen, you suggested time.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you guys. I was even thinking like closer to when Liam was ready to start the project, but
No,
yeah,
we got to do this. We need to do the trail thing soon. If you want to make any comments before it goes to the board.
okay.
And we want to finalize this because to get Liam going, I would like to be the one who proposes the colors for him. So I want to take into consideration both parks so that we have an overall plan, not just him in a vacuum doing one loop, one color, and then, but we need these trails fixed on a map before I can do that. So I know which trails to include and which ones not.
Yep.
Can I offer something? It's
Yes.
Sure.
Well, I was hoping that we could marry some of the things that the garden people are doing with some of the things you're doing, because on Saturday is going to be a beautiful day. Unfortunately, I can't make Saturday, but we have a project we're working on that we need help with too. We, if you remember, adopted the bluebird houses, and one of the ladies has offered with her husband, she lives right over on Forest Gump across the road. All those bluebird houses do not open. And if you monitor a bluebird trail, you have to be able to open the boxes. She and her husband have offered to help, and they were going to take them all down, and she's had a health crisis. But she said if we could get the bluebird boxes over to her house, hopefully by this weekend, she could fix them and then we can put them back up. There's 9 bluebird boxes. Betsy knows where they all are, and we have another guy that helps us all the time. You may know him, is Noah, and Noah might be able to help. I haven't talked to him yet, but he knows where. He made me a map of where all the bluebird boxes are. So if you're going to be over at the park on Saturday, if there's any way anybody could help Betsy do that, or I can make calls tomorrow and see if Noah can help Betsy. But if
Are they just screwed in? Are they just screwed in?
As far as I know, onto the metal fence post.
No, she means why don't they open?
No, sorry. No, I mean, how do we get them off the post? Are they just screwed onto
they're just screwed onto those,
But wait,
those. However,
why do you have to remove them if we can make them open? Like, are they not designed to open, or are they just stuck?
They were not designed to open. You cannot open them. The one Trevor we were missing the 10th box, and Trevor put an Audubon one up the end of last year. It's fine. The newer one at the end of the trail is fine. It opens. All we have to do is clean that out. But if we take down those boxes, run them over to her house, she and her husband, she needs to look at them, and that he has them over there too. And he's good at that. So they've offered to do it for free.
So Dawn, I'm happy to take them down and give them to him, or if I can make them open, and I'll talk to Noah if he's around.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But I'll meet with Betsy. I think she's on the line. I'll talk to her. What time?
That'd be awesome. Because it's Amy Carletti, and you might have met her, and she went to school with Greg, and she's got all the native plants, and she does winter sowing at her house, and she's awesome, and she helps us in the garden. Betsy and I fight over her all the time.
So what time, Betsy?
In the morning for me.
What time is that?
Well, 10.
Okay. I'll meet you at the park.
Okay.
And she knows where Amy lives, and we can call Amy, and that would be awesome. And then
Okay.
what we do is Amy had just tentatively numbered them. And then what we do is we make a trail, and you make the map of the trail, and then we monitor it and keep a log and stuff. And ultimately, we could even put camera in one of them or two of them, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with that. So it can grow into a project. It can grow into a Girl Scout or Boy Scout project, but it would just be a really cool thing. Oh, and there's 2 over at the office. But that would be a first step for us merging our projects. And Noah had a fabulous idea last fall to build, and I'm sorry Bob Mangus isn't on the phone because he would be the one probably helping us. We could build a three-sided shed right next to the dumpster. So we could put half of it for shavings for mulch and half of it for compost from the garden. Because otherwise we've just been dumping it out there in the woods. But we could have, if Jeff ever comes up with shavings or wood things, he could dump them in part of it for us.
There is a mulch pile down in the middle parking lot. Can you use that area?
See, we need a wheelbarrow, but we'd have to have a way to get it up to the garden.
That's kind of a hike.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, and we were thinking of just some kind of because what we want to do is take any of our stuff and put it in a compost pile. So Noah, if you talk to Noah, he had the idea about it.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'd like to look at it with the pro because
Sure.
that's like the main driveway in a high visibility area, and a compost pile is not very pretty. So we would want to maybe put it back behind some weeds where it's not highly visible,
Right, and that would be fine too.
It's like, welcome to Crossing Park. Here's my dump.
No.
Well, it's right by the dumpster.
Yeah, I know. We could build a wood fence in front of the dumpster. But just some ideas. But that would be great. If we could do, the bluebirds are going to be here. Mine are already here. But,
so Dawn, I was in the garden last weekend and it's pretty rough looking. Do you guys have a plan to kind of
No. Listen.
So I don't know when is it appropriate to clean it up for the spring? Like, when is that supposed to happen? I don't know.
You're not on my Facebook, my garden Facebook.
So Paul doesn't have Facebook. He doesn't know he can't touch the pollinator.
I know. Did everybody see my announcement?
I did.
Okay, the announcement said you start cleaning up the leaves and the stuff when it gets 50 degrees for over a week or more. And I've already talked to Noah and I've already talked to Betsy. And we are planning on first taking out the redbud seedlings and hopefully giving them away at Easter.
So, yeah, I'd like to put some redbud around the Banffshire parking lot. That'd be great.
If you would love them, we have a multitude of beautiful baby redbud seedlings in the healing garden that need to leave.
Yeah, that'd be great. So
talk to Betsy and Noah, and they can let you have any ones you'd like.
Great. But when you do plan to do activities in the healing garden, maybe you could communicate it to this group so we have some coordination and we know what's going on.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Andrea's on my garden list. And I think Mary's on it, aren't you? And Kyle. See, this is all started by Kyle, and then we've got Kyle's sign ready to put up for the bluebird boxes.
Great.
So I think Kyle's on my garden thing. I'm sure Andrea is. I know Mary is.
I think Mary is. I think Jen is.
Isn't Heather? Aren't you on it too? I thought
she said no.
Okay, I'll look. But yes, I would be happy to make sure that
I will make sure I'm on it.
It's Crossin Parks, Friends of the Healing Garden.
Right, but I'm saying to put it onto the public meeting here for the pro.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
make it.
That's why I think you guys should get credit for it because it falls under the park.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to a nice spring. And then, we have, I hope Jeff is still on, but we had a budget donated to us for like 5 years of maintenance, and maybe we could use that to buy some spring flowers. I don't know how much of the budget is left or what the status is, but I just wanted to remind you it might be there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because Greg had said that and I never checked on how much was left.
Jeff, any comment?
I don't know the exact figure, Paul, but it's certainly something I can have Melissa look into and report back.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Dawn.
Yeah. Thank you. God, boy, that's going to be great. We're excited because the bluebirds make a lot of people happy. So.
I agree with that. Okay, so I'm gonna just quickly go back to our agenda. I think we've done a little bit of hopping around here. I'm gonna go back up to the top to old business, Goodwin. There is no update yet on the oak trees. Continued conversation about trail maintenance. I think that probably we don't need to do anything with that right now. I'm not sure if everyone listened to the conversation or the Board of Supervisors meeting when I presented our kind of rough draft of what we were talking about in terms of what trail maintenance tasks require Board of Supervisor approval, what's something that we can act on without necessarily needing prior approval. I think, for the pro board, what's important, the most important takeaway is that regardless of what the task is, as long as we're alerting Jeff, so if it's a maintenance item, if it's something that if a tree falls down, right, Bob, oftentimes if a tree falls and Bob will call Jeff and say, hey, the tree's down, or someone alerted me that a tree is down and we're going to go clear it, just let you know, give you a heads up. So I think the takeaway from the Board of Supervisors meeting is, kind of regardless of what the task is, whether it's a bigger item or a smaller item, we want to keep them in the loop on everything. 2024 initiatives, trail maintenance, cross and park path. We've just discussed that. Paul's going to propose that to the Board of Supervisors. Bamshire, the raised flower bed. Bob is not here. I talked to him about it. He is going to put a proposal together to present to the Board of Supervisors. I'd like him to present it to us first so that we can discuss it. I know that we've all discussed in our meeting, we've discussed the location of that raised flower bed and a little bit of concern that it might take up some usable parking space and or turnaround space. And so I think we want to make sure that we get together with him at some point so that we know where he plans to put that raised bed before he presents it to the board. And so I don't know if anyone else has had any conversation with him since our last meeting, Paul, or.
No. But I agree. I would be surprised if he goes to the Board of Supervisors without at least showing it to us first. That would be odd. But I mean, I know we're not allowed to make decisions, but we are supposed to advise the board, and so we should at least see it.
Yeah, so I think he will get us information, but I think he wants to very quickly go to the board, and so hopefully he presents that to our group first so that we can give him a little bit of feedback. So I would say stay tuned on that.
Yeah, and I'll just add that I think that's the appropriate path is for this team to talk about that before going to the pro. So I mean, before going to the board, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I
guess there's probably some timeline issue because the spring's coming and he wants to get it done before the spring. But
but it's February.
No, I'm not saying it's not unreasonable, but I think I agree that he should present his idea to you guys and have you guys talk about it before it comes to us.
Yeah, and we have talked about it several times, and we've discussed meeting him to look at exactly where he wants it. So so maybe we can arrange, Paul. We can figure out a time to do that. New business, top of the list was pro priorities and discussion with Dave. We've kind of already done that. I think you've covered everything that that you wanted to say. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there's some other stuff that I want to bring up, but we'll talk about it in another meeting. Like it's not not critical. So
Okay. Okay. Next item is a spring newsletter. So we did a fall newsletter, just some updates of what the pro has been working on, Franklin Township spring newsletter. Is there anything that you guys would like me to share? I think the last newsletter, Kyle did a draft of it, and I worked on it as well. Is there anything that anyone else has to add or would like included in a spring newsletter?
And the other thing I think is we need really more volunteers. Like
an offer for volunteers to sign up, and that maybe that's a topic, Andrea, separately. Is we did have some volunteers sign up at a few events, the fall festival and our tree planting, and I don't feel like I'm accumulating them very well, or who's accumulating them, I guess is.
So I have that list from the Fall Fun Day or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
So I do have that list, and I don't know if you have a separate list. I'd be happy to put it all together in some sort of document for us to keep, if that was helpful.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'll send you what I have, and then because like when a opportunity for volunteerism comes up, we want to have a good list of a group of people to call on to build ownership in the parks, and not just the hunters out doing everything. Not that I'm opposed to them doing the work, that's great, but we want to build volunteers who are out there using the parks and benefiting from it and become part owners of it. They could become invested. That's the word I'm looking for.
I like that word.
Yeah, Andrea, I mean, I was gonna say, if you want to write it, I know I keep saying my daughter, needs the service hours. I'm just not sure what her schedule is, but maybe there's a way to write in the newsletter that, this is a great opportunity for students. Preferably, I don't know if anybody else is opposed to it. I know some people have younger children, but, maybe target high school students for service hours. I think all the high schools require service hours.
Okay. I think we could certainly include in the newsletter that we have an upcoming scout project going on over at Franklin Preserve we're excited about. I mean, anyone?
Yeah, that's good.
Highlight that, because that'd be encourage more scouts.
Yeah, good. Yeah, oh, that's encourage. Yeah, say if you have a scout who needs a project, please contact Franklin Township.
Okay. Okay, if anyone thinks of anything else, we've got some time. But just let me know. I'm going to start working on that. Let's see. Next item was this Docksetter Foundation 2024 grant. We received an email from Greg Sachs forwarding us information on a grant. Let's see. It was active February 1st, and I think your proposal needs to be, letters of interest need to be in by March 1st.
Yeah, so just so Andrea, last year I looked into it because there was something we were thinking about putting some trees by the township building, but then there was some discussion of maybe expanding, or not necessarily expanding, but doing some work around the township building, so we kind of put off on it. But where Greg used to do it, when Greg did the Docksetter, he just was able to go right to the proposal. Now they've split it up into two parts where you actually do an interest letter, and then they'll let you do it. So basically it tries to save you the trouble of having to do the entire proposal and get rejected. You do first part of it, get interest, then you can get their permission, and then you could do the rest of the proposal. So it's a two-part.
Do you remember what exactly, so the letter we received is somewhat vague as to what is covered under this grant. It just says, grants for environmental projects.
Yeah, it would not cover playgrounds. It would cover tree. Greg used it for tree planting.
He did. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the tree planting over at Crossan?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And where Greg did it, that's why I said it was slightly different. So that's where when Greg sent it to me, I thought I would have more time, but then there was that new turnaround where you have to do
Yeah.
a letter of interest first, and then you do the final proposal first. So it is a tight turnaround with that March, but in the benefit of it is you don't spend as much time as Greg did and then get rejected. Obviously, Greg did not get, rejected. They approved it. But I think they're being a little more picky, and they're only letting people go on to the next stage that get that initial approval.
Which is
Yeah,
fair. I mean, I just wonder if something like this, and I don't know that we have anything presently or any trees needed. I think last time we discussed that there weren't really any locations where we needed to add trees. I mean, Dave just brought up that section where the poison hemlock was, and whether or not you could you could do some sort of tree line path or something like that there. I don't know if the Dockstetter grant would cover that sort of scope of work.
And I wonder even if Dave, if
maybe
it would,
it's not
if it
this
would,
year, maybe we keep it in mind for next year.
yeah, or even money for rehabilitating the trail in 2025, the one that he had talked about off in the,
So a trail rehabilitation would be a good project, and they might do the playground added equipment that I'm interested in. So I'll read what Dockstetter's been funding lately. I see last year they gave Avondale Borough 2,800, and there's certainly not much nature in Avondale Borough, so they must do other things than just total nature stuff.
Yeah, and I guess I was under the impression it was total nature stuff, but obviously
No,
things could change, especially with this new like pre-qualification and then the final project. And I will say that now, obviously, with Greg having done the tree project, he got a certain amount of money, didn't use it all, and returned it. So I think that Franklin Township is favorable because they are so honest. Greg said it was very important about the record keeping and making sure that you report all the expenses for the final report.
And Jennifer, that made me remember something. Greg Gagliano from Red Tail Restoration, he had talked to me he left me information to give out at the plant swap last fall. And he wanted to talk to you guys because he said there was something he had talked to Greg about taking care. There was something that had to be done with the trees this year.
It may have been the gravel. And I think that was taken care of recently with Heather. I think they took care of it. I think it was the pea gravel for
because I told him he had to talk to you guys about it. I didn't know anything about it. So I didn't know whether that was, okay. I was just checking.
Didn't Red Tail spray the park?
No, they sprayed Goodwin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's what he's thinking. Now he has to come back in the spring and do it again.
Yeah, it was for the thistle, but we'll see how it looks. Yeah, let's see how it looks. Just for more information, they gave the Kennett Library $10,000, so that's not a nature grant, and then they gave the garage $15,000. That's like a youth after-school program.
I think they give stuff for teaching and education.
I thought it was education
programs.
Yeah. So it says the mission of the Dockstetter Foundation is to actively promote educational, charitable, and scientific activities that support, enhance, and optimize the natural environment in the Southern Chester County municipalities. So that is, it sounds like it could be broad.
Yep.
Well, next year or this year, we'd be interested in giving classes in the garden or classes in the park. So keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot tonight. Anything else that anyone would like to discuss?
I just saw it on Facebook. I know not everybody's on Facebook, but I guess there was a break-in at Peacedale Park.
Oh no.
Car. So I saw Dawn, I saw you posted something about
I was so angry.
So that surprises me, but I guess it's just something that maybe if Jeff wants to. Jeff, I don't know if you heard about that.
It was this morning.
I did not hear about it, but it doesn't surprise me.
Okay.
Yep.
Cindy Aldridge posted it and then I saw it. And yeah, it was about 11:30 this morning and the police were called.
Yeah, they said the Delaware State Police were involved. So I maybe Jeff, if you just wanted to add something to your Facebook, to the township Facebook, just letting people know that, not to leave belongings in their car at the parks.
You got it.
Thank you.
Andrea, I
Yes.
sent in that open space inventory. I filled it out and sent it into the county.
Oh, nice. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yes, thank you for keeping us straight.
I appreciate you doing that.
Well, I need to run.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's it. If there are no further comments, I vote to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Second.
Second it. Yeah.
Second.
Aye.
Hi.
Bye.
Sorry.
Bye. Good night. Yes. Take care, guys.
Okay, good night then.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Good night, everybody. Good meeting.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody. Thanks.